Most backyard orchards sit quiet for 10 months of the year, leaving you with nothing but grocery store fruit. But what if 10 carefully chosen trees could hand you fresh harvests for the entire year? After decades of growing fruit in my own yard, I've learned exactly which trees to plant for a continuous supply. Today, I'm walking you through all 10, and you'll want to stick around because number 8 stores for half a year in your cellar. Plus, that bonus tip at the end is an old pollination trick that can triple your yield without planting a single extra tree. The first tree on our list is the Illinois everbearing mulberry, and it kicks off your harvest season in late May through June, when most other fruit trees are still setting their blooms. These berries taste remarkably similar to blackberries, with that same sweet, jammy flavor that makes them perfect for pies, smoothies, or eating straight off the branch. What I love most about mulberries is how forgiving they are. This is a native tree that tolerates drought beautifully, so if you're in an area with unpredictable rainfall, or you simply don't want to fuss with constant watering, mulberries will reward you anyway. Now, one thing to be aware of is that birds absolutely adore these berries, which is lovely if you enjoy the wildlife, but you may want to throw bird netting over lower branches if you're hoping to harvest most of the fruit yourself. The tree itself grows between 20 and 30 feet tall, so it provides nice shade as a bonus. If you're worried about staining on patios or driveways, there are newer mess-free varieties bred specifically to reduce fruit drop, though the traditional Illinois everbearing is still the most reliable for consistent yields. Plant one of these and you'll have the earliest homegrown fruit of the season, often before your neighbors even realize berry season has started. It's a wonderful way to launch your year-round harvest. Right after your mulberries finish, Serviceberry Autumn Brilliance steps in during June, with juicy berries that taste remarkably like blueberries. This is another native tree, and if you're looking for something that fits naturally into the landscape without a lot of babying, Serviceberry is one of the best choices you can make. The tree stays a manageable size, typically between 15 and 25 feet, so it works beautifully in smaller yards, or even as an ornamental specimen near a patio, where you can admire the spring blooms and fall color. Speaking of fall color, that's where the Autumn Brilliance variety really earns its name. Come October, the leaves turn brilliant shades of orange and red, giving you a second season of interest long after the berries are gone. The berries themselves are sweet and mild, perfect for fresh eating, baking into muffins, or freezing for later use. Kids and grandkids love them because they're not tart like some early berries can be. Serviceberry requires minimal pruning, and it's exceptionally wildlife-friendly, attracting songbirds and pollinators throughout the growing season. If you're someone who enjoys watching nature while you garden, this tree will bring plenty of activity to your yard. It bridges that gap between your early mulberries and the stone fruits coming up next, ensuring you never have a break in your harvest calendar. Plant it in full sun to partial shade, and it'll thrive with almost no fuss. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more gardeners like yourself, who would also find it so helpful to avoid these mistakes. All right, let's keep going. The third tree worth planting is the Benton sweet cherry, and this one delivers those classic juicy red cherries you dream about during June and July. What makes Benton particularly valuable for homeowners is that it's self-pollinating, meaning you only need one tree to get a full crop. That's a huge advantage if you don't have room for multiple cherry trees, or if you're planting in a spot where there aren't many other cherries nearby to provide cross-pollination. Benton stays fairly compact at around 15 feet, so it fits comfortably even in a modest backyard. This variety is also known for being disease-resistant, which cuts down dramatically on the amount of spraying or fungicide treatment you'd otherwise need to worry about. Cherries can be prone to issues like brown rot or bacterial canker, But Benton handles those challenges far better than older varieties. The fruit itself is sweet enough for fresh eating right off the tree, but it also holds up beautifully in pies, preserves, or frozen for winter baking. If you've got grandkids who visit in the summer, a cherry tree is always a hit because picking and eating fresh cherries feels like such a treat. Harvest happens relatively quickly once the fruit ripens, so you'll want to check your tree every couple of days to stay ahead of the birds. A little netting can go a long way if bird pressure is high in your area. Benton extends your early summer harvest perfectly, carrying you from service berries right into the heart of stone fruit season. Moving into July, the Hardcot apricot arrives with those tangy sweet orbs that are absolutely perfect for making jams, drying, or enjoying fresh if you catch them at just the right moment. Apricots have a shorter harvest window than some other stone fruits, but that intensity is part of their charm. When they're ripe, and you'll find yourself filling baskets quickly. Hardcot is particularly well suited for northern gardeners because it's hardy all the way down to Zone 4. So even if you experience late spring frosts, this variety has the resilience to bounce back. One of the best features of Hardcot is that it's a freestone apricot, meaning the pit separates cleanly from the flesh. If you've ever tried to pit a clingstone apricot for canning or baking, you know what a difference that makes. The tree itself grows between 15 and 20 feet, keeping it manageable for pruning and harvesting without needing a tall ladder. Apricots do appreciate full sun and well-drained soil, so if you've got a slightly sloped area or a spot that doesn't hold water after rain, that's ideal. The flavor is more complex than peaches, with a slight tartness that balances the sweetness beautifully. Hardcot bridges that gap between your cherries and the plums coming next, ensuring your kitchen stays stocked with fresh fruit for preserving or baking through the heart of summer. Right on the heels of apricots, Santa Rosa plum starts producing in late July through August with those gorgeous purple plums that have a tart sweet flavor profile. This is one of the most reliable plum varieties you can grow, especially if your soil isn't perfect. Santa Rosa is remarkably forgiving of poor soil conditions, which makes it a fantastic choice if you're working with heavy clay or slightly rocky ground that other fruit trees might struggle in. The tree grows between 15 and 20 feet and produces so abundantly that you'll have plenty to share with neighbors, family, and grandkids. Santa Rosa is self-pollinating, so just like the Benton cherry, you only need one tree to get a full harvest. The plums are excellent for eating fresh, but they're also wonderful for drying into prunes or making into jam. If you've got little ones around, they'll love the sweet juice that runs down your chin when you bite into a perfectly ripe Santa Rosa. The tree itself is relatively low maintenance, requiring just basic annual pruning to keep the canopy open and the fruit accessible. One tip I always share is to thin the fruit when they're about the size of a dime. It feels counterintuitive to remove baby plums, but thinning ensures the remaining fruit grows larger and sweeter. Santa Rosa carries your harvest beautifully from midsummer into late summer, setting you up perfectly for the peaches that follow. And speaking of peaches, Glowhaven arrives in August with those fuzzy, ultra-sweet freestone peaches that are the star of every summer cobbler. Peaches can be finicky in some climates, but Glowhaven is bred for disease resistance, which means you'll spend far less time worrying about peach leaf curl or brown rot compared to older heirloom varieties. That's a big deal if you're trying to keep your orchard as low spray as possible. Glowhaven is also self-fruitful, so one tree is all you need, and it stays around 15 feet tall, making it easy to manage even as you get older and don't want to climb tall ladders. What I love most about Glowhaven peaches is that southern charm they bring to the table. The fruit is incredibly sweet when fully ripe, with that classic peachy aroma that fills your kitchen when you bring a basket inside. They're freestone, so the pit pops right out, making them ideal for canning, freezing, or slicing fresh over ice cream. Glowhaven performs well even in northern climates, which surprises a lot of gardeners who assume peaches are strictly a southern crop. If you've got a sunny, well-drained spot, Glowhaven will reward you with buckets of fruit every August. The harvest window is relatively short, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, so plan to preserve or share what you can eat fresh. This tree keeps your momentum going strong as summer starts winding down and fall fruit begins to take over. Now we're moving into late summer and fall with a pear combination that really extends your harvest. Planting both Bartlett and Bosc pears gives you fruit from August clear through October, and the best part is the pears store beautifully for 1 to 2 months after picking. Bartlett ripens first in late August with that classic buttery texture and sweet flavor that's perfect for fresh snacking or canning. Then Bosc follows in September and October with a firmer flesh and slightly spiced flavor that holds up wonderfully in baking. Together, these two varieties give you a continuous pear harvest that can carry you well into the holidays if you store them properly in a cool, dark place. Both varieties are European-style pears, meaning they don't have those gritty bits you sometimes find in other pears. The texture is smooth and creamy when they're perfectly ripe. One important tip with pears is to pick them slightly underripe and let them finish on the counter. If you wait until they're fully ripe on the tree, they can get mushy inside. Look for fire blight-resistant options when you're selecting your specific cultivars, as fire blight can be a challenge with pears in humid climates. The trees grow to about 20 feet and benefit from annual pruning to keep the canopy open. Pears are relatively low maintenance once established, and they provide that beautiful white blossom show in spring that makes them wonderful ornamental trees as well as productive ones. The 8th tree on our list is an apple combination that will genuinely change how you think about storing fruit. Planting McIntosh for mid-season harvest and Northern Spy for late season gives you apples from September through November, and here's the real magic. These varieties store for up to 6 months in a cool cellar or basement. That means apples you pick in October can still be crisp and delicious come March or April. Both are classic heirloom flavors with that perfect balance of sweet and tart that makes them incredibly versatile for fresh eating, cider, applesauce, or baking. McIntosh ripens first with that tender, juicy flesh and bright red skin that's instantly recognizable. It's wonderful for fresh eating and makes exceptional applesauce. Northern Spy follows a few weeks later with a firmer texture that holds up beautifully in pies and stores even longer than McIntosh. The key with apples is that most varieties need a pollinator. So planting 2 different varieties solves that problem while also extending your harvest. Window. These trees grow between 20 and 25 feet, so they do get a bit larger than some of the earlier stone fruits. But that size also means more fruit. A mature apple tree can easily produce several bushels in a good year, giving you plenty to share and preserve. If you want fruit that lasts you through winter without refrigeration, this apple combination is absolutely essential. Coming into late September and early October, Pawpaw sunflower brings something truly unique to your orchard. If you've never tasted a pawpaw, imagine a creamy custard with flavors of banana, mango, and a hint of vanilla all rolled into one Native American fruit. Pawpaws are often called America's tropical secret because they grow naturally in the eastern United States but taste like they belong in the Caribbean. The sunflower variety is particularly disease-resistant, which makes it more reliable than older seedling pawpaws that can be hit or miss. Pawpaw trees grow between 15 and 20 feet and have the unusual ability to tolerate shade, making them perfect for planting under taller trees or in woodland garden settings, where other fruit trees would struggle. The fruit itself is incredibly rich and sweet once fully ripe, though you do need to catch it at the right moment because pawpaws don't store long after harvest. For best yields, you'll want to hand-pollinate the flowers using a small paintbrush, as their natural pollinators, certain flies and beetles, aren't always reliable. That sounds fussy, but it only takes a few minutes during bloom time and dramatically increases your fruit set. Pawpaw fits beautifully into that early fall window when most other fruits are winding down, and it brings an exotic flavor that always surprises first-time tasters. It's a wonderful conversation piece when friends and family visit. Rounding out our year-round harvest is the American persimmon Yates variety, and this tree produces those honey-sweet, pudding-like fruits from October clear into November, often hanging on even after the first frost. Yates is a non-astringent variety, which means you can eat the fruit as soon as it's ripe without that mouth-puckering astringency that makes some persimmons inedible until they're almost mushy. The flavor is incredibly sweet and rich, almost like a natural dessert, and the texture is soft and creamy when fully ripe. These fruits store remarkably well, much like apples, so you can keep them in a cool place for weeks after harvest. American persimmon is a true native tree, which means it's naturally pest-resistant and requires very little care once established. The tree does get quite large, reaching 30 to 50 feet at maturity, so make sure you've got the space for it. But that size also means it becomes a beautiful shade tree and a wildlife magnet, attracting birds and other creatures late in the season when food becomes scarcer. The Yates variety is particularly reliable for consistent fruiting, and because it's native, it handles cold winters and hot summers without complaint. Plant this tree and you'll have fresh fruit all the way into Thanksgiving, closing out your harvest season on a sweet note that carries you right into winter. It's the perfect bookend to the mulberries that started everything back in May. And now for the bonus tip that experienced orchardists swear by. If you want to dramatically boost your fruit set without planting extra trees, here's the secret. On calm mornings during peak bloom, take a small battery-powered fan out to your orchard and gently blow it across the blossoms for just 5 to 10 minutes per tree. This simple trick mimics wind pollination and shakes loose pollen that then drifts to other flowers, significantly increasing pollination rates even on self-fertile varieties. I've seen this technique boost yields by 30 to 50% in years when natural pollinators are scarce due to cold weather or rain during bloom time. It sounds almost too simple to work, but the science backs it up. Pollen needs movement to travel effectively, and a gentle breeze from a small fan provides exactly that. You can also use a soft paintbrush to hand-pollinate individual flowers, but the fan method covers far more blossoms in less time with less effort. Try it next spring during your apple, pear, or cherry bloom, and you'll be amazed at how many more fruits set compared to previous years. It's one of those old-timer tricks that costs nothing but delivers real results. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.